So we want to present today the MA Designing Education. So we're going to go through our kind of open day slides just so you can get a kind of overview of the programme. So myself and Rose are the main tutors on the MA Designing Education programme at Goldsmiths, which is part of the University of London.
And we're based in South East London, an area, borough of Lewisham, and in the area of New Cross. And here you can see actually how close we are to even central London, in the beautiful opposite the beautiful building of the Richard Hogarth building, which is one of the main buildings on the campus.
So there's two distinct audiences for this programme. The first part, or the first audience, is designers and artists and creative practitioners who want to apply their creative practice into educational contexts.
And the second group are teachers or those from non-design backgrounds who want to learn how to harness educational approaches using design and designing audiences or community participation or change.
Okay, and that kind of gives us a really interesting collaboration between the two groups, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's the way that in which design and education literally coexist together, and it helps them to develop their specialist practices but also engage with design thinking and design learning.
Yeah, so we're a kind of studio focused programme, so we'll talk a bit more about that. So in terms of the kind of environments we have, our main space of teaching is a studio practice, and this is where we use design approaches or design pedagogy in terms of writing briefs, doing practice-based projects, creating prototypes, having lots of discussions, seminars around different types of methodologies, whether it's creative methodologies or research methodologies, and working with the students on their individual kind of interests to bring them through each of those projects. But I guess what's really special about the programme is we're hands-on, we do projects. We don't write lots of essays. We really try and develop kind of through prototyping, testing ideas out. So the two groups bring quite different things to the programme. So in terms of a kind of overview, I guess we're looking at this relationship between design and designing and education. So it's really broad, and that may mean that students go on to work in government organisations or charities or commercial contexts, but also into schools and universities and colleges. And we're an internationally focused programme, so we're not just looking at the UK, we're looking internationally across the whole world. So last year I think we had something like 21 different nationalities applying. And in the current group, we've probably got about 10 different nationalities of students, haven't we? Yeah. So it's really kind of creatively engaging, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's just really interesting to see where they exist on the same kind of ground footing, and then where there are differences, but actually how the design thinking actually helps them to actually open up their projects.
Yeah. So there's some quite key thematics that come out of these collaborations between the two different areas. So on the programme, we have a range of different teaching staff.
We have different staff that teach on the programme. So our lead is Professor Mike Waller, then there's me, Rose Sinclair, there's Alice Hellard with her background in design and education, and also Duncan Fairfax. The staff expertise across design, education, innovation, design thinking and social innovation actually means the students get a really rich engagement with education and design thinking right across that kind of spectrum.
I guess the design department's got a really long history, which I know you've been involved with for a long time.
20 years.
Yeah. So the design department, it has education embedded in it. We've been training design teachers in the department for many years, more than 30 years, I think.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to bridge but in the staff group, we've also got this different kind of context. So I'm coming from a design innovation context, and Rose is coming from an education and textile practice. So it's quite nice to have that dialogue between us as well. So it kind of works not just at the student level, but also at the staff level, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. It is that it makes for a really interesting feedback as well for the students, because they know that they can come to any of us as tutors, and we've got both that education and design practice that we can feed into their work.
Yeah, and I guess one of the important things about the Goldsmiths staff is that they are research active, or they're active in kind of practice. So I know, Rose, you've been doing a lot of exhibitions with your work, and so I guess there's something interesting about that relationship.
Yeah, so I do a lot of public engagement within my work. So one of the things that we can really do with students is to actually talk to them about how they can build that into their practice as well. And we take them through that notion of what is practice and how do you do it and how do you engage with other publics or with other spaces. And so the students actually like the fact that we are research active.
Yeah, and I guess that exhibitions is a core part of your practice as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and understanding the audience that you're speaking to. So it kind of helps the students to understand how they, when they do their presentations, for instance, that the audience are the other students.
Yeah.
And I think it really helps them that we have that experience ourselves.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good point about we use a lot of presentation in the in how the work is shown in the studio in a what we call a formative way. So during the projects we'll present to each other and have conversations with the students and the staff, and sometimes invite guests to come into that space. And it becomes quite a rich dialogue in the studio, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
Kind of
does.
studio practice, I guess.
Yeah, and I think as well, because our projects also are not always in the studio, but we also take students out. They also get the chance to meet other practitioners in external spaces, so they get to have this rich mix of engagement with lots of different practitioners in lots of spaces. And I think this feeds into their projects, and it helps them to grow as teachers or as designers or as teacher practitioners, as we call them.
Yeah. So the programme is an interesting one in terms of it's 12 months in length. We teach all year round, so we start in late September and we go through pretty much into August the following year, and we're teaching throughout that period of time. So we're not like many programmes that will teach only kind of 2 terms or 20 weeks a year. We're actually more like 30 to 40 weeks. So the core part of the programme are 3 modules, and we're going to talk about those. And we also have some option modules. So we're going to go through just some of the sort of structure so you get an idea of what the kind of projects and modules might look like. The first module is critical and radical pedagogies. And this focuses on how we think about our audiences in relationship to how you might go about teaching in a particular context. So that because we have a broad range of different kind of focuses within the group, it's really important that the students build their own framework around the type of pedagogy that they want to engage with or research or develop. So this first module gives you the opportunity to build your own kind of what we call a kind of theoretical framework, but it's more than a theoretical framework because we ask them to also do a project. So the practice then also informs what the model, what the framework might be. So it's kind of beyond just looking at literature, it's actually looking at how the practice informs the kinds of things that you might want to do within your work. And then this kind of sets up the rest of the modules in terms of a position that an individual student will have within their work. And obviously we look in detail through seminars at kind of design philosophy, educational philosophy, different methodologies, obviously design approaches, design thinking, but beyond design thinking as well. So more about the kind of designerly way of engaging with your work. So the second module.
This is the spaces and practices of education, and this is a module that actually allows the students to explore design methodologies and creative practices, but in a range of different educational contexts and environments. This is one of the projects that actually takes them outside of the university institution, if you like, and we go exploring around London and exploring spaces where they feel that their work can be done rather than just always being in an internal studio. And it's about rethinking education, learning practices, but also this notion that not where can you bring your work to other people.
Yeah.
And
So I mean, this year we're just doing this project now, aren't we?
yeah.
And we've got a particular focus on third spaces, haven't we?
Yes, so the third
Which is really
spaces is
interesting.
really an interesting way of looking at how can you learn outside of an institution, or where can you learn, or how can design influence the spaces that you learn in. And I think the students are really kind of rising to the challenge on this one.
Yes, we've got
and
a big
really
range of
exciting.
different contexts, from looking at education for prisoners and food all the way through to kind of gymnastics or
Maths.
gyms in mathematics in those contexts, or well-being, all sorts of different kind of places.
So I'm really excited for how this project's
Yeah.
going to turn out.
But again, it's studio focused, project based. So we have extensive workshops, prototyping spaces for people to try out different ways of doing it. So they're really engaging in trying some of these ideas out, but still doing really solid kind of contextual research to really understand what this might mean.
Everything's underpinned by real, what I call gritty research underneath, and that's coming out then in their practice-based approaches.
At the centre of all of the work we're doing is this idea of the kind of contextualisation of things. So we're quite inspired by Donald Shawn's work on the reflective practitioner. So we like this idea of problem setting. So really getting into the messy context of the everyday life, rather than thinking of things in an instrumental problem-solving way. We want people to really understand and get inside of the contexts, work with the people in those situations to really develop things that are meaningful, but are well contextually located, so really understanding their audiences. So this brings us to the final module, or core module, which is the independent research project. And this is an opportunity for the students to write their own brief, and then they get supported through various seminars around research methodologies, practice-based approaches, and building their own kind of area of interest. And this is often used as a way of, developing their work for where they want to go after Goldsmiths. So whether it's developing a portfolio of work or developing particular directions. Many of the students are interested in further study, so some of them may go on to do PhDs. Others will return back into their professional practices, whether it's teaching or designing for education. So really wide range of activities that go on within the independent research project, and we will mentor them, won't we?
Yeah.
So how would you describe mentoring to our...
Mentoring is like getting them to have what I call open vision rather than tunnel vision. So it actually allows them to look at what I call the blue sky possibilities of where they can go next, whether they want to influence policy, whether they want to influence practice, whether they want to move from being a teacher to a designer or a designer to a teacher, for instance, swapping those roles around, but also maybe realigning where their career goes next. So given them the confidence to be able to say, well, actually, I need to go to see the careers contact to find out whether or not I need to rechange where I lie, or some of them are thinking about maybe perhaps following a career in museums now because they can see where museums learning where their work might fit better.
And also we had some really interesting examples where practitioners who are working with as consultants in businesses, in creative business or design organisations, almost like bringing education into the centre of that consultancy. So how the organisation learns, and it opens up really new territories for thinking about the relationship between designing and education.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good thing, that recognition that learning doesn't end because you're in a university or a school. It actually is extended across the practice of wherever we are situated. Yeah.
So one of the examples of, just to help you kind of understand that a bit more clearly, I guess, is that one of the projects one of the students did was he was a professional photographer, and he wanted to develop a course all about or a short course. Sometimes it's called a micro kind of credential course, all around photography and AI and how to think about the politics of the image. So he built a kind of new type of module to get professional photographers to engage with what they think or how they have to think about their own practice. So we've also had maths teachers who are looking at how to use third spaces like cafes to develop kind of math skills within communities. English teachers who are looking at local narratives and myths coming from particular cultures to engage their students in learning to read. And we've also had, obviously, design practitioners who wanting to bring education into this sort of the context of, organisational development. So really wide range of different approaches from both sides, both the design side, the creative side or creative practice, and also the education side and how they kind of come together. So we also have option modules. So students will get to pick 2 option modules for their study. And obviously they can pick those from a broad range of options across the institution. So this year students are looking at working in the education department on race and culture modules, but also in the entrepreneurial kind of school on enterprise and how you engage with social enterprises, having speakers come in and making podcasts to really explore kind of social enterprise and kind of creative business. And also we have another module this year on enterprising leadership, where people are studying leadership roles. Many of our students go on to lead projects, so these sort of skills are really useful. So it's really broad in terms of the types of options modules that you can do, but the idea really is that the students can pick some of the things that they're interested in. Now we've also run a project this year as an option module, as a studio research project on designing with and for the body. So we've brought in theatre directors or storytellers, narrative experts, as well as neuroscientists looking at things like touch. So we've learnt a lot of stuff from these other professionals into our design studio projects. And the idea really is that the students will then use design as a way of exploring our relationship with using our bodies in relationship to designing. So how we tell stories, how we kind of make more use of thinking with the body rather than just through our sketchbooks and through models. So a lot more narrative focus. So if you would like to know any more about the programme, there's a link at the end of this video so you can go and have a look at more kind of details on the programme and how to apply. But thank you very much for watching this overview. And if you want to come and visit our open day or come to the studio, you're more than welcome, and we would love to see you.
Yeah, thank you for watching.